Today, we're diving into a romantic epic that went totally viral, and it all boils down to one question. How do you possibly atone for a sin so big it echoes across lifetimes? This is a story about a massive betrayal, a promise literally carved in blood, and a love that just refuses to give up, spanning 3 whole lives.
This one line, right here, it's the gut punch that sets everything in motion. It's this unbelievable moment of betrayal that ends up fueling 3 lifetimes of regret and devotion. So let's start at the very beginning.
Our story kicks off with an act of betrayal so huge it basically breaks time itself, setting the stage for this incredible multi-life journey to find redemption. Okay, just picture this. A huge, endless field of crimson flowers. Our hero, Ye Xuan, thinks he's saving the woman he loves, Yunqing, from a fate worse than death, and to do it, he makes a horrible choice. He pushes her from the execution platform himself. As she falls, he's screaming her name, only managing to catch a tiny scrap of her red dress. It's this terrible, twisted act of love, a sin that's going to haunt him for ages. So, this red spider lily, it's not just a flower, it's the central image for this entire saga. In folklore, it represents a tragic final goodbye, for souls that are about to be separated by death. By starting the story with this flower, it immediately frames their love as one that's defined by loss, right from the get-go. And you can see just how deep his regret is because it's immediate. This isn't something that dawns on him slowly, it's an instant, overwhelming grief. He carves his promise right into his own hand, with his own blood, making a physical vow that's going to drive every single thing he does from now on. So, centuries go by. The first life, total tragedy. But that vow he made, it sticks. Now, we jump to the modern day, where his mission to get her forgiveness really kicks into high gear.
He finds her reincarnation, Yunqing, at an art gallery. Now, she has zero memory of him, but she's painted the one image that haunts them both, that sea of red spider lilies. And right there, in front of everybody, this powerful guy in his suit just falls apart, weeping at her feet. For him, it's this reunion he's been waiting centuries for. For her, it's probably the most confusing and weirdest moment of her entire life.
And this is where his personality gets really interesting, because on one hand, he's this epic, tragic, romantic hero, but on the other hand, his attempts to win her over in the modern world are, well, they're kind of tacky, but in an endearing way. He sends her money every day, a specific amount where the numbers in Chinese sound like "I love you for a lifetime." He even shows up under her window with a giant light-up sign. So he's both this legendary lover and, let's be honest, a slightly cringy suitor, all rolled into one. But tacky signs and public apologies can only get you so far. For a mistake of this magnitude, words just aren't going to cut it. The climax of this story needed an act of ultimate, undeniable sacrifice. I mean, that's really the question that drives this whole final act, right? What does it actually take to earn forgiveness for something that big, a betrayal that echoes through reincarnation? Well, the answer has to be a sacrifice just as dramatic as the crime itself. So, he goes back to the scene of the original crime and sets that entire legendary sea of flowers on fire. Then, kneeling in the middle of the inferno, he shatters his own demon bones, the source of all his power and his immortality. And finally, he offers up his own life as the ultimate payment. He literally renounces everything he is to atone for what he did.
And in that fire, he delivers this final vow. This is the culmination of his entire journey. He's not even asking for forgiveness anymore. He's just offering his life as the final price for all her pain. No negotiations. And that is the moment. That's when everything changes. Seeing him ready to completely destroy himself for her, she finally breaks. She runs into the fire after him. And with that one line, she not only forgives him, but reclaims him. It's this powerful, desperate scream that says, nope, our story is not ending in tragedy again.
Okay, so after all that fire, all that tragedy, the story's tone does a complete 180. They've earned their peace. And what comes next is a life that's not about drama, but about all the sweet, funny, and normal moments they never got to have. So what's with this number? Well, that's the number of red spider lilies he uses to propose to her. He covers the entire entrance to the marriage registration office with them. So the flower that once meant their tragic separation is now the symbol of them being together forever. And this is maybe the simplest but most powerful image in the whole story. 2 marriage certificates. After lifetimes of chasing, running, and atoning, this little piece of paper just means they finally made it.
The cycle is broken.
And their peaceful life is just full of these wonderful, hilarious moments. Like their son, Tuan Tuan, can't really control his powers yet, so he accidentally makes flowers sprout on all his classmates' heads at school. Yushuan, the super powerful former demon lord, tries to make a heart-shaped egg for breakfast, and it's a complete disaster. We even get this little glimpse of a what-if timeline where he chose her over his throne in the first life, avoiding all the heartache. And his social media? Oh, it's basically a fan account for his wife and kid.
And this little detail just perfectly captures their new dynamic, right? He posts some silly comment, and she jokingly threatens him with kneeling on a spiky durian fruit, which is this common, funny punishment. They've gone from epic, soul-crushing tragedy to just playful domestic banter. It's perfect.
In this really quiet, sweet moment, he says this to her, and it's just the perfect summary of their entire journey. They took this symbol of tragic goodbyes and somehow managed to make it bloom in a life of peace, totally free from that cycle of death and rebirth that used to haunt them.
You know, when it comes down to it, this is a story about the incredible scale of atonement and the kind of peace you can find on the other side of all that pain. And it leaves you with a really interesting thought. If you had a second chance, or even a third, to fix your biggest mistakes, what would that even look like? Definitely something to think about.